There comes a moment in life, and it rarely announces itself. It slips in quietly, after sleepless nights, shattered plans, and one too many attempts to fix what refuses to bend. You've been doing more, haven't you? Pushing, meditating, journaling, manifesting, praying, planning. And still, nothing moves. So you look up at the sky and ask, why isn't it working? The answer is simple, but not easy. Surrender. Here's the hard, liberating truth. You've been trying to wrestle alignment into place with clenched fists. But the universe doesn't respond to force, it responds to release. Carl Jung once said, what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. While you've been speaking affirmations into the mirror, your energy has quietly been saying, I don't have it. I'm not enough. I'm afraid. And the world? It doesn't listen to your words, it listens to your energy. Your manifestations aren't failing because you're lazy or broken. They're failing because you're operating from survival. Trying to control what was never meant to be controlled. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And when your identity is rooted in grasping, fixing, proving, your life becomes a mirror of the emptiness you're trying to outrun. So what if I told you the most powerful move you could make right now is to stop? Stop grasping. Stop pushing. Stop proving. Not out of fear. But from faith. Not from weakness. But from wisdom. Because when the doing stops, the becoming begins. When the noise quiets, the unconscious awakens. And when you finally step aside, healing begins. The psyche integrates. Reality begins to shift, not by force, but by resonance. This isn't the end of your effort. This is the beginning of your surrender. Not giving up, giving in. To something deeper. Something real. Something eternal. Let go, and watch what unfolds. 1. Stop chasing, you're getting in your own way. We've been sold a myth. That success is a result of relentless pursuit. That happiness is earned by running faster, working harder, pushing more. But Carl Jung didn't teach us to chase dreams, he taught us to turn inward. To ask, why am I chasing this in the first place? Because sometimes, the object of your desire isn't the real desire at all. It's a bandage for a wound that still hasn't healed. When you crave love, is it truly about connection, or is it fear of abandonment? When you obsess over money, is it financial freedom, or a desperate need to prove your worth? Jung's genius wasn't in motivation. It was in confrontation. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. If you don't face your wounds, they will shape your desires, and you won't even notice. So you keep chasing things, thinking they'll save you. But life doesn't hand you what you want, it reflects what you are. And if what you are is wounded, desperate, fragmented, then no matter what you chase, it slips away. Why? Because the energy behind your efforts whispers. I'm not enough. I need this to feel whole. And the universe always echoes back the energy you send. You say, please give me love. But your energy says, I don't have it. So the universe replies, you're right. This is why people burn out chasing the wrong relationships, the wrong careers, the wrong version of success. Not because their desires were wrong, but because their sense of self was bleeding. The obsession is never about the thing. It's about what you believe the thing will fix. But if you were handed everything you want right now, could you even hold it? Or would your trembling hands let it fall? Jung wasn't here to help you manifest from the ego. He was here to help you integrate the soul. To stop chasing. And start facing. The truth. Before you ask for more, ask yourself. What part of me still feels empty? Heal that, and you'll stop chasing what was never meant for you. And start attracting what was. This isn't about abandoning ambition. It's about purifying it. It's about becoming the kind of person who no longer needs, because they've already become whole. And when you're whole, the universe stops testing you and starts trusting you. 2. The unconscious is always listening. We like to think life is testing us, throwing obstacles in our path to gauge our strength. But it's not testing you. It's mirroring you. Life doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you actually believe. Not your affirmations. Not your curated captions about healing. But the silent story pulsing beneath every decision you make. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." Stop searching for signs in the sky. Start deciphering the ones within your soul. Because here's the brutal truth. You can write, "I am enough," 1,000 times. You can speak love and success into the mirror every morning. But if, deep down, your unconscious doesn't believe it, nothing changes. You can't lie to your unconscious. It hears everything. It remembers everything. And it drives everything. That knot in your chest when you visualize success. That doubt when you imagine love. That's not intuition. That's your unconscious asking, do you really believe this is possible? And when your energy says, no, life listens. It delays the blessing. Not to punish you, but because you're not yet open to receive. So what do? You stop. You stop forcing. You stop hiding behind performance positivity. Because real power isn't found in effort. It's found in presence. Sit with your fear. Don't bury it, decode it. Every fear is a message. Every hesitation, a signal. The unconscious is always speaking. The question is, are you willing to listen? Because the moment you stop interfering, stop trying to force divine timing with your anxious hands, that's the moment the shift begins. Not when you force alignment, but when you become it. And becoming? It begins in stillness. 3. Detachment is a superpower. Attachment is one of the most misunderstood forms of suffering. We don't realize we're clinging, until life begins to unravel. We don't realize we're worshipping an outcome. Until it slips through our fingers. And we call it heartbreak. Misfortune. A test. But often, it's not loss. It's liberation. Carl Jung reminded us, we don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And nothing reveals our inner darkness faster than detachment. Because what is attachment, really? It's the illusion that something outside of you holds the power to complete you. A person. A relationship. A version of your future. You grip it, not out of love, but out of fear. If I lose this, I'll lose myself. But here's the paradox. The more you cling, the more it slips. And the more you let go, the more what's meant for you can flow in. Detachment isn't indifference. It's clarity. It's saying, I want this, but I don't need it to be whole. When you detach, you reclaim your power. You stop outsourcing your peace to unpredictable people and temporary circumstances. And you realize. The energy of grasping repels. The energy of wholeness attracts. You become magnetic not by force, but by ease. You stop saying, please love me. And start radiating, I already am love. And people feel it. Because energy doesn't lie. The moment you stop chasing is the moment people start noticing. Not because you're cold. But because you're centered. Not because you're closed. But because you're finally self-sourced. You become the one who doesn't beg. Who doesn't flinch. Who doesn't compromise their soul for breadcrumbs. And the world moves differently for people like that. Detach, not to escape. Detach, to come home to yourself. For, stop pleading, you're already whole. There's a kind of begging that looks spiritual on the surface. We call it manifestation. But deep down, it's desperation dressed up in flowery language. We say, "Universe, please, just give me this one thing." And the plea sounds humble. But it's not. It's rooted in lack. Because the truth is, when you know you're whole, you don't beg. You don't chase. You don't over-explain your worth. You simply become. And allow what's aligned to arrive. Begging is born from a belief that you're empty. That something out there will finally make you feel like enough. But it never does. Because wholeness isn't found in outcomes, it's revealed in your being. Carl Jung taught that the self, the true, whole self, is not something you build with effort. It's something you uncover by peeling away the masks. The ego begs. The soul doesn't have to. The ego says, "I need this to feel powerful." The soul says, "I am power itself." This is the turning point in your journey. The day you stop pleading with life to give you value. And start embodying the truth that you already are valuable. Not because of your achievements. Not because of your relationships. But because your essence is already divine. You don't have to prove anything to be worthy. You just have to stop believing the lie that you aren't. So stop bargaining with the universe like you're undeserving. Stand tall. Breathe deep. And let your wholeness speak for itself. The world doesn't respond to need. It responds to knowing. And when you walk like you already have it, life starts rearranging to meet you there. 5. It's not about doing more, it's about becoming different. You've been conditioned to believe that more action equals more results. Work harder. Grind longer. Do more. And sometimes, it works. But often, it doesn't. Why? Because when your actions are misaligned with your essence, they sabotage your becoming. Carl Jung understood that transformation isn't a matter of effort, it's a matter of integration. You don't grow by endlessly adding more habits, more hustle culture affirmations. You grow by aligning your actions with your unconscious truth. You grow by becoming the version of you that no longer needs to compensate for unworthiness. Real change happens when you shift being, not just behavior. Because if the person you're becoming still clings to the beliefs that birthed your old life, no amount of doing will create a new one. You don't need more productivity hacks. You need presence. You don't need more goals. You need inner congruence. You don't need to do more. You need to become someone who no longer needs to prove their value through performance. This is how reality bends. When your internal identity shifts, your external life follows. Not because you pushed harder, but because you finally stopped pushing in the wrong direction. So today, ask yourself, what am I doing to avoid stillness? What am I chasing that's keeping me from becoming? Who would I be if I stopped trying to prove I'm enough? That's your real work. Not another to-do list. Not another vision board. But a deeper embodiment of truth. You don't create a new life by effort. You create it by resonance. And when your energy finally matches the life you desire, you won't have to chase anything. It will come to you. 6. Let it die. We rarely speak honestly about the parts of us that need to die. Not because we don't feel it, but because we're terrified of what will be left when they're gone. We cling to identities we've outgrown. We recycle old habits we know are self-destructive. We grip relationships that drain us. And we tell ourselves it's loyalty. Or comfort. Or even love. But deep down, we know. It's fear. Carl Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. That pain. It's the price of letting the false self die. The ego resists death more than anything else. Because it thrives on familiarity, even if that familiarity is toxic. It says, this version of you may be miserable, but at least it's safe. But you weren't born for safety. You were born for truth. And truth requires death. The death of illusions. The death of identities that were built on wounds. The death of compulsions you once used to numb your emptiness. This is the spiritual crucifixion, the death before the rebirth. And it hurts. But it's holy. Because you can't resurrect into wholeness while dragging around corpses of who you used to be. The part of you that clings to addiction. Let it die. The part of you that feeds on validation. Let it die. The part of you that bends for love, silences your soul, and plays small to be accepted. Let it die. Don't just cut it off, bury it. Grieve it. But don't resurrect it. It had its time. It served its purpose. It taught you what you needed to know. Now it must go. This is the gateway to inner alchemy. The fire of transformation doesn't burn you to punish you. It burns to purify you. When you stop resurrecting old identities, new ones rise naturally. From silence. From stillness. From the ashes. And when you finally stop resuscitating the dead, you realize, you never needed saving. You only needed rebirth. Let it die. So that you can finally live. 7. The power of surrender. Surrender isn't weakness. It's not defeat. It's not giving up on your dreams or your desires. It's the quiet courage to say, I release control because I trust the unfolding. You've been fighting against life's current. Straining every muscle to steer your destiny like a rudderless ship in a storm. But surrender is the moment you stop rowing. Not to sink, but to float. Carl Jung taught us that transformation is not a battle fought with brute strength. It's a dance with the unknown. A letting go of the ego's desperate grip. And an opening into something far greater than yourself. When you surrender, you stop pushing energy into resistance. You stop exhausting yourself trying to force outcomes that aren't ready to come. Instead, you step back. And allow the natural order to emerge. You step into flow. That invisible current of life that carries those who stop struggling and start trusting. Surrender is an act of faith. Faith that the universe hears your heart, even when you cannot see the path. Faith that your deepest desires are not lost. But waiting for the right time and shape to manifest. And here is the paradox. When you surrender your need to control, you gain the power to influence reality in ways you never could by force. Because the universe doesn't resist the open hand. It resists the clenched fist. Your power grows not by holding tighter, but by letting go deeper. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. To differentiate what is within your control and what is not. To focus your energy only on the former and surrender the rest. You cannot control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. You cannot force a relationship, a career, or a dream to bloom. But you can cultivate your inner soil to welcome growth. Surrender is the soil in which transformation takes root. It is not the end of effort, but the beginning of a wiser, more aligned way of being. So, surrender. Not out of fear, but out of trust. Not because you are powerless, but because you are powerful enough to let go. And when you do, life will show you. Surrender is the greatest form of strength. 8. Your energy is the prayer. Words are noise without alignment. Intentions are powerless without embodiment. And prayer, true prayer, is not spoken from your mouth. It's broadcasted from your frequency. Your energy is the real prayer. It's what life listens to when your lips are silent. It's the invisible signal you emit. And the universe responds to that, not your vision board, not your 55 by 5 scripting rituals, not your forced mantras said through gritted teeth. Carl Jung knew this. That's why he never taught people to chant for outcomes. He taught them to become the vessel that holds them. Because the unconscious doesn't care about what you say, it only registers what you are. You could say, I am abundant. But if your nervous system is still stuck in scarcity, if your body still flinches when the bill comes, if your gut still clenches when someone else succeeds, your energy is praying for lack. And life, ever honest, ever reflective, gives you more of it. So here's the challenge. Don't just say the affirmation, become the person who believes it. Don't just ask for love, become the one who knows they're worthy of receiving it. Don't just write about peace, embody the nervous system that can hold stillness without needing chaos to feel alive. Your energy is the transmission, the blueprint, the offering. If your body is tight, if your heart is closed, then your manifestation is filtered through fear. And what comes back to you will carry the scent of that same fear. That's why you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are safe to receive. So ask yourself, what are you energetically available for? Because until you expand your capacity to hold love, wealth, visibility, intimacy, peace, even if it comes, you'll find a way to reject it, to fumble it, to lose it. Not because you're broken, but because your energy wasn't ready. So don't just chase results. Calibrate your frequency. If you want deep love, become emotionally available. If you want financial flow, do the shadow work on scarcity. If you want spiritual freedom, purge the identities built on fear and performance. Because when your energy finally says yes, a real yes, not a forced or scripted one, the universe moves fast. Why? Because it doesn't respond to performance. It responds to truth. And your energy is the truest language you'll ever speak. So make your life the prayer. Make your posture the ritual. Make your breath the offering. And everything else will follow. 9. Embodiment is the endgame. Insight is not transformation. Awareness is not embodiment. Knowing the truth doesn't mean you've become it. You've read the books. You've listened to the podcasts. You've collected mantras like trophies. But here's the brutal truth, until it's in your nervous system, it's just noise. Carl Jung didn't teach you to become intellectually aware, he taught you to integrate. To live what you've learned. To feel it in your body, not just repeat it with your mouth. Because the real shift, the deep, irreversible kind, doesn't happen when you understand the pattern. It happens when your body no longer needs it for survival. You can say, I'm safe. But if your body still contracts in intimacy, if your breath still shortens when you speak your truth, if your spine still collapses when you're seen, then your embodiment hasn't caught up with your insight. That's why you relapse. That's why the same cycles keep returning in new disguises. Not because you're weak, but because your body is still rehearsing an old identity, one that doesn't trust safety, doesn't trust love, doesn't trust rest. So how do you embody the new? Slowly. Honestly. Consistently. You feel the fear, and stay anyway. You notice the self-sabotage, and soften instead of sprint. You practice receiving, not just asking. You walk differently. Breathe deeper. Speak slower. You let stillness feel safe again. Embodiment is choosing a new response, until it becomes the only response. This is the spiritual gym. This is the real alchemy. Not escaping your patterns, but sitting with them until they dissolve. Not bypassing your pain, but holding it until it no longer defines you. You're not here to think differently. You're here to become someone who no longer needs what the old self needed. Jung called this the journey of individuation, not perfection, not performance, but wholeness. A wholeness that says, I am no longer waiting for a better life to love myself. I'm embodying the love now, and letting life reflect that. Because once it lives in your body, once your nervous system is fluent in peace instead of panic, once your identity is rewritten from survival to sovereignty, Then the external begins to match the internal. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. This is the real manifestation. Not a vision board. Not a technique. Not a spell. But a nervous system in harmony with its highest timeline. And that is not given to you. It's practiced. Breathed. Lived. Every moment. Every breath. Every choice. You don't attract what you learn. You attract what you embody.